These real stories of real demons living inside these abandoned hospitals will absolutely terrify you, for real. The Linda Vista Community Hospital, located in Los Angeles, California. Linda Vista Community Hospital is a former hospital located at 610 30 South Street, St. Louis Street in Los Angeles, California. Now, it's in the Boyle Heights neighborhood. The hospital was originally constructed for employees of the Santa Fe Railroad and called the Santa Fe Coastlines Hospital. Now, the hospital gained notoriety as one of America's most haunted hospitals, originally treating gang violence victims in the 1970s and 1980s. The hospital closed in 1991. After its closure, the hospital became a very popular filming location for productions, including films, TV shows, and music videos. It has also become the subject of several paranormal investigations. Now, the hospital was sold in 2011 and converted into a low-income senior living facility called Hollenbach Terrace in 2015. Linda Vista Community Hospital is widely known for its alleged hauntings. Many visitors have reported hearing footsteps, moaning, and groaning even after the hospital was closed down. Some claim to have seen shadowy figures moving around the premises, especially in the emergency rooms. Now, a ghostly figure resembling a doctor pacing the corridors has been reported by some investigators, and a pacing young woman on the third floor, as well as the spirit of an orderly still making his rounds. Now, one person actually shared their story from a visit and said, "We were live streaming at 2:03 a.m. in the pediatric wing of Linda Vista when our camera picked up a shadow crawling along the ceiling. No footsteps, no noise, just this thing that kind of slithered like it had no bones. When we reviewed the footage later, we caught what looked like a face, red eyes, very sharp cheekbones, staring straight into the lens. None of us saw it in real time, but all three cameras did." That's terrifying. The Beelitz-Heilstatten Hospital in Brandenburg, Germany. Now, the Beelitz-Heilstatten Hospital, located near Berlin, is actually known for its eerie atmosphere in association with historical figures, aka the bad guys. While some claim it's haunted, others say the ghostly reputation actually stems from the abandoned state and the echoes of the past. Now, the hospital's history includes use as a sanatorium, a place for war officials, and later a Soviet army hospital. Now, Beelitz-Heilstatten was a large hospital complex with a very long history, including periods of a tuberculosis sanatorium and location for notable figures, and the building's abandoned state and the stories surrounding its past have contributed to a sense of unease and a claim of it just being haunted. Now, Beelitz has a reputation for its wild World War II era history and neurological experiments. Now, there's a local legend of a ghost named Schleicher von Beelitz, hope I'm pronouncing that right, who is said to have roamed the halls in the late 90s as well as the early 2000s, deterring vandals and misbehaving kids. Now, this legend adds to the overall eerie atmosphere of the site. One person actually shared a story on Reddit and said, "What we caught on tape was something deeper. In the surgical ward, we heard knocking from behind sealed walls. The knocks turned into scratching, then into a very deep, growling voice that simply said, 'Belieb,' which is German for stay. So we left. The audio file, well, it got corrupted that night." That's creepy, right? I'm glad they didn't follow orders and they did decide to leave, because that's one thing you won't ever need me to do. I'll be gone faster than you can blink, so believe that. Now, some sections of the hospital are still used for neurological rehabilitation as well as Parkinson's research, and it has also been used as a film set for movies like The Pianist as well as Valkyrie. Now, visitors can access the site and there are tours available, so let me know if you ever visit. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia. Now, this National Historic Landmark served as a sanctuary for the mentally ill in the mid-1800s. This 160-year-old asylum holds very fascinating stories. It includes Civil War raids and also a gold robbery. There are also stories about the curative effects of architecture. Now, the efforts of determined individuals helped better the lives of the mentally ill. Now, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, now widely considered one of the most haunted destinations in America, it actually operated from 1864 all the way to 1994. Although it was designed for 250 patients, about 2,400 were actually crammed in there, and they were treated very poorly. Now, ghost hunts of this massive building run year-round, and one person person shared their experience there. He said when he visited for a tour, he expected to be joined by, hardcore paranormal investigators, kind of weighed down with camera gear and digital recorders, but it wasn't like that at all. He said, we broke into smaller groups, spending 2 hours on each of the asylum's 4 floors before rotating. Our tour guide told us about some of the hospital's better known spirits, including a little girl named Lily who was born in the asylum, a man named Jesse who actually passed away of a heart attack in a bathtub, Civil War soldiers, as well as a patient who was kind of unalived brutally by his roommates. Now, he said the hospital is so vast that it was easy to end up alone despite, the dozens of other people wandering around. It was also easy to feel lost amid the maze of hallways and patient rooms, covered in peeling paint. He said we were filming a kind of lights out challenge inside the women's ward. He said at 3:14 a.m., a camera set up in the hallway caught a figure walking backwards in complete silence. When we tried to enhance the image, its face blurred like static, but the eyes, pure black, stayed very clear. Now, paranormal experts later told them that what they saw was a shadow parasite. He continued to say by 4:30 a.m., he's like, I was ready to go. He said, as I drove away, I thought about whether I actually believed what I saw. He said, I've always been fascinated by ghosts, but am I convinced they exist? Honestly, not sure. There's actually a lot of stories from this hospital, so search it up on Google if you're intrigued. The Rolling Hills Asylum in East Bethany, New York. Now, one of the most haunted locations in the whole of the United States. It was established in 1827. The Rolling Hills Asylum, or the Genesee County Poorhouse, which was originally a working farm, soon became a refuge for some of society's less fortunate. So widows and orphans mingled with the mentally ill, and the unclaimed passed on were actually buried on the property. With over 1,700 documented demises and hundreds not recorded, it's no wonder, Haunted North America rated it as the second most haunted site in the United States. Often resembling a reformatory, a poorhouse often housed orphan children, families, destitute elderly, physically handicapped, mentally unstable, morally corrupt, even criminals. Now, these institutions were situated on the grounds of a poor farm on which, able-bodied residents were actually required to work. Such farms were, actually very common in the United States in the 19th and early 20th centuries. Now, poorhouse was a government-run facility for the support and housing of dependent or just needy persons, typically run by a local government entity such as, a county or a municipality. Now, institutions of this nature were widespread in the United States prior to the adoption of the Social Security program in the 1930s. Residents were referred to as inmates, no matter, why they were housed there, and those physically able-bodied would have to work the farm, and many actually built and made wares to sell, to help offset some of their living expenses. Now, the raising of Holstein's pigs, draft horses, chickens, and ducks, raising vegetable and fruit crops, canning jams, jellies, meats, that was all part of their chores. One visitor shared their visitation story online and said, I was standing in the solitary confinement corridor when a deafening scream erupted from the far end. The problem? Well, that hallway had caved in years ago, but the camera caught the scream echoing, bouncing unnaturally as if it came from inside our own equipment. The audio waveform even shows a second, much deeper voice overlapping the scream, like something was inside of her. Well, as creepy as that is, I bet some of you would still like to visit, am I right? Well, there's an upcoming event on June 4th. It's about 5 hours and it costs about $600. So if you've got the nerve, the time, and the money, check it out and thank me later. Have you visited any of these abandoned haunted hospitals? Let me know. I haven't. I don't think I plan to, but you never know. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Ashley. Until next time, stay scared.
A luxury hotel in Nevada that's been abandoned since World War II is said to be haunted by the ghost of a woman who was chained in the basement, her cries still echoing through the halls. In Goa, a half-finished 5-star resort was abandoned after one of its owners mysteriously died, and now locals claim it's cursed. These are abandoned hotels hiding dark paranormal secrets. Starting off this list today, we are talking about the Goldfield Hotel in Goldfield, Nevada. Back in the early 1900s, the Goldfield Hotel was the definition of luxury. There were crystal chandeliers, the furniture was mahogany, and there was this big grand staircase. But after World War II, the place shut down and it started rotting from the inside out. That's when the ghost stories started.